Okay, so here we are in CodeHS, which is the IDE, which is an abbreviation for Integrated Development Environment, that we will be using for this class to write all our code and run all of our code. You could install an IDE, some other IDE onto your computer, some other Java development environment, if you want, but you must write all of your code for this class in CodeHS, not paste it in from some other IDE, not any other solution that you might prefer, because writing your code within CodeHS allows me to be able to see all your versions, allows me to access your code, and so that's non-negotiable for the course. It's fine IDE. It's somewhat limited, but it's limited in a way that I want it to be limited. One of the things that, or when I taught this series of classes back in 2018, 2019, we used a different online IDE called Replit, REPL.IT. And in Replit, it's a similar online, it runs in a browser window. You can have a class where everybody can see the assignments. But in last semester, before I taught Computer Science 221, when I went to see what has happened with Replit since the last time I used it, it has gone full AI code completion. It basically writes your code for you. I was writing just a little sample bit of code, like this is how a for loop works, and this is how and or and all the math operators work in Python. And as I was writing it, it was suggesting the topic that I should put in the sample code next, and it was right. Like, it knew what I wanted to do next. Not only that, it was commenting the code using the style of comments that I had already written in the code above. And those of you who took the class with me last semester know I have a kind of quirky, very complicated and verbose way of writing comments. It was copying my commenting style. It was kind of amazing. So AI has gotten really good at doing that. And I don't want an IDE with AI built in to write your code for you. I want to know that you guys can write your code yourself. So that's one of the reasons I require CodeHS as the IDE that we're going to use for the class. So let me just give people just a really quick run through of CodeHS. When you log on Canvas, there's a code that'll give you allow you to add yourself to my class. The most important place to go to is the sandbox. When you click on the sandbox, yours will probably be kind of empty. Mine has got all the code I wrote last semester in my sandbox, and all I have to do is create a new program. I can either just click the create button, or I can give it a name now. I'm going to call it CodeHS test. And then you click the create program button, and you will get a big long list of languages that CodeHS knows how to code, from C++ to HTML to SQL to Python, JavaScript, and we're going to be doing this semester Java, Java main. There's also other versions of Java, but we're going to be doing the main Java. There's also things down here hiding from us, regular old C without the ++, Scratch, which is kind of a language for like little kids to learn. So we're going to select Java, and then we're going to come down here and click on Create Program, and we'll get a window that lets us write our code. There's three important parts to this window. There is the main, something a little weird is going on here with my window. There we go. That might be a little bit better. Hopefully the text size is big enough for you to read. I'll mess around with these videos a few times for the first couple of weeks just to make sure the formatting is good and the sound is good and the size of the text is good. But your main window here in the middle is where you're going to write your code. Your window over here to the left, this column to the left, is a place where you put files. Right now, there's only going to be one file in your code. That's your main program that you're writing, but you can also put data files and output files, and you can put your classes in their own files. We'll learn how to do that later in the class. But right now, this is just going to have your main program. And so most of the time, I'm actually going to have that window closed. And then over here on the right is your console. That's where the output to your code is going to go, if you tell it to print something, it's going to go to the console window over here on the left. And most of the time I make that kind of small so I can focus as much attention, as much screen real estate as possible on the main window here. The first thing you'll notice when you create a Java program in CodeHS is it's not empty. There's some stuff in there. And this stuff will always be the same on CodeHS. And in fact, it'll mostly be the same in any IDE that's set up for you to write Java. And it'll always start with this public class and then a name, which is the name of your program, which you can change to anything you want. But when you change the name of that program, or if you change the name of the program in the main window, you also have to change that file name to be the same thing. If they're not the same thing, you will almost certainly get an error when you try to run that code. So if you always want to just leave it called my program, you can do that. And then a little curly bracket, and then all this business: public, static, void, main, parentheses, string, square brackets, args, and parentheses. That is a bunch of Java gobbledygook that is absolutely 100% required in your main program. And it's a bunch of stuff we did not have in Python. The reason for that is that Java is an object-oriented programming language, and everything in a Java program is an instance of a class. So when you write your main program, your program is a class called Dave's test program. When you write your main, what we would call in most languages our main program, that is actually a method of your Dave's test program class. If you didn't cover object-oriented programming in your intro computer science course, this won't make any sense to you at all. Near the end of the Python course, if you took Python with me last semester, we learned about classes and objects and methods, and just got a little taste of object-oriented programming in Python. All the programming in Java is object-oriented, and so in order to start a program in Java, you have to start with these definitions of a class and a method in Java. I'm going to link a separate video to Canvas where a guy explains what all these little parts mean: public, static, void, main, what these string args thing in the parentheses. I'm not going to go over that right now. For now, you can just consider this to be the starting gobbledygook that has to be in a Java program. So CodeHS puts that in there, and your code is going to go right here in between these curly braces. The other thing that you see in this that we didn't see in Python is the presence of these little curly brackets. These little curly brackets are signifiers in Java that you are starting and stopping a block of code. In Python, we didn't have these. We just, when we started a new block of code, we would indent it. And that's how Python knows that this block of code belongs together inside of a loop or inside of an if statement. That is a very new way of organizing a computer language. In most older languages, there is some kind of signifier for the beginning and end of a block of code. In one of the first languages I learned, which was Pascal, which I learned in high school, which would have been the 1980s. In Pascal, the way you started and stopped a block of code is with the words begin, end, end. And everything in between those begin and end would be a block of code, a for loop or whatever. In Java, the equivalent of that, the start and stop of a block of code, is the curly brace. So when you open up a new Java program in CodeHS, you get the required Java nonsense, the public class and the public static void main, and you get the starting structure for that main class that is your main program and that main method, which is your what you would call your code that you're writing. And so the code that you're writing goes in here in between these two curly brackets. What I'll usually do in my code is I will comment these so that you know what they are beginning and ending. This isn't something that's required to do, but I'll do something like end of main program method and end of my main programs class. And that will help me know which little curly brackets go with which block of code. And that's, like I said, I like doing that for myself. You guys know I like lots of comments, or those of you who took the 221 with me last semester know I like lots of comments. And so I will almost always comment my end curly brace so I know which begin curly brace it goes with. Something we didn't use very much, or I didn't use very much last semester when we were doing the Python, is the little expansion and contraction arrows over here. This is my main method. If I click the little collapse arrow, it collapses that block of code into a single line, and I can click on it to expand it back again. When you've got lots and lots of methods and lots of blocks of code, and you've got a block of code that you know it does what you want it to do and you don't want to mess with it anymore, it's okay to collapse that down so you don't have to look at it. It makes it easier to scroll through your program. So notice, though, that it keeps the comment with that last curly bracket, like it puts the beginning and end curly bracket and a little line here, and it keeps that comment on the line. So that's a good way to, when you collapse something, I can now look at that, and because of that comment, I know what's inside that little collapsed box. So again, that's another reason to comment your curly braces at the end. So that is CodeHS. That is the IDE we will be using. When we actually do a Hello World program, I will run the code and we'll see what that looks like. The sandbox, I recommend giving your programs meaningful names, either tagging them with the date, or what I've actually done, well, what I did last semester is I tagged them with the week, so week 5, week 6, week 7. What I'm doing this semester is just giving them a numerical code. All my Java code is in here. Giving them numerical code 001, 002, 003, 004, so that when I order them by name, they are in the order of the topics in the class. And just to have some kind of method for naming your files that you understand, so that when you have, by the end of this semester, you've got maybe 50 programs, you can go and find the one you need. So that's the method I use. The J is for Java, the number is just so that they go in order, and I've already got a dozen or so programs written for the class. So I'll go ahead and stop there, and then we'll do a really, really quick Hello World kind of example so you can see how to print stuff to the console in Java and how to write comments, which is going to be really, really important.